We are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. But this week we have a special guest, Taylor Ogan of Snowbull Capital, clean tech investor. Though Taylor is better known in the Tesla community for his Twitter account, where he does a lot of commentary on the Tesla FSD program, which he tests on his own vehicle. So, Taylor, let me start it out with a very easy question for you. Why do you hate Tesla so much?
You know, it goes really far back. It's just I can't think of a worse company out there.
Really? Awesome.
No, I would be a self-professed fanboy for a very long time. I've owned 4 Teslas. I still go to Tesla meetups. I camped outside Tesla showrooms. I helped with end of quarter delivery pushes. It's just a lot of people think that I'm overall negative on Tesla because I just simply disagree with their approach to testing this full self-driving on public roads with non-consenting humans and drivers. So that gets conflated a lot, but overall, I think Tesla is a great company, and there's a reason that I've owned 4 of their vehicles. I own the stock.
That's what you say publicly, right? But in fact, you have a very large short position on Tesla.
Yeah,
I think the Tesla fan have proven that, haven't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They always, every single day they're proving it. I can't keep up with it.
No, not only that, can you comment on a report here from this is a very official report that we've been sent to us from Tesla fans out there by a Mr. Warren Redlich that exposes you as being writing under the pseudonym of Anthony Donati for Torque News, with very negative reports on Tesla and very positive one on Lucid, which shows that you're clear bias here against Tesla. So can you comment on that? Is Anthony Donati your pseudonym as a writer for Torque News?
I guess the cat's out of the bag. That was probably the most ridiculous conspiracy theory I've heard the crazy fanboys tout in it. Maybe ever.
There's like 50. There's like a huge thread of like 50 people on there all saying good work.
I know.
It's crazy.
I thought it was complete sarcasm, but no, I think they're very serious. The actual, what's his name, Anthony? He DM'd me and he was like, people are coming after me and saying like you fraud, you crook, and I was like, yeah, welcome to my world. And then he was like, nice to meet you, by the way.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
Well, that doesn't add up to me now, because if you're not short Tesla, you have no financial interest in seeing Tesla fail, but Tesla's fans like Mr. Warren here are writing these posts about you and attacking you in the media so much. Why would they be doing that? They cannot be doing that just because you have some criticism of one of Tesla's program, can they?
Can't be, right? Yeah. The invisible hand.
Because that's basically what's happening right now. We've been facetious, of course, but we have this like right now in the comments right now already. Why interview Tesla haters? This obviously, Mr. Hogan here is not a Tesla hater. Like there's been no evidence whatsoever that you have a short position on Tesla, and there's plenty of evidence of you defending Tesla, at least prior to the FSD program. I mean, I've seen a video of you. I don't know, was it in Connecticut?
Literally testifying on behalf of the Tesla community to allow Tesla to sell directly to consumers in the state of Connecticut. Yeah. So if you want to sound like something a Tesla hater would be.
Yeah. What's someone? Yeah. Like there's so much evidence that shows that you're pro electric vehicles, you're pro Tesla, in fact. So let's talk about the actual real issue that you have with the company, and specifically the FSD program, which you have some expertise to talk about, since you actually one of the testers of the program. You have it on your Model Y?
Yeah, my Model Y. Yeah.
Okay.
The perspective I think that I also offer that very few, if not any of the beta testers don't offer, is that I also have been in actual robotaxis, like all over the world. There are a lot in China now that you can actually ride in. There are some in California. There are some in Arizona. And I think that it really puts it into perspective when you're in an actual car without a driver. And I'm not counting like Aptiv in Las Vegas and stuff like that. I mean, Tesla's like quite comparable to that right now. But I have been in actual robotaxis, and this is just nowhere close. And the fact that so many people, that what really irks me are people who have experienced it or even watched a video, but mostly the people who've actually experienced it. And then they still go around saying that like it's so close. Just wait till version 10.10. Just wait till and it's like either they're being so disingenuous. So I kind of had enough, and I was like, look, let me post a video of like the real FSD drive, like on a typical one. It's not the craziest one either. It was just my colleagues were riding the car and they recorded it. And I put it on Twitter. I have a lot more videos if they think that's crazy. Geez. It's just not, I'm not seeing the same, like what I'm actually experiencing on Twitter and on these YouTube videos. So yeah, it's a crazy system right now. It's improving slightly, but it's not a robotaxi.
Yeah. When did you receive it on your vehicle? You went through the
in October.
In October,
I was in that first batch post safety score.
Okay.
How did you end up getting 100 safety score, 99 or whatever?
I drove 103 miles, I think, and just like a grandma late at night. It was
Gotcha.
the easiest thing ever. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I can't even get out of my driveway without an alarm going off. So
yeah,
I'm like automatically never going to be in the FSD beta. But my neighbor, he's in it. I've driven with him quite a bit. So I've gotten some experience behind the FSD wheel. And it's kind of amazing. We chat about it quite a bit. He took me on a ride one time. It was like dusk. He called it like you have to be able to, like, it's going to try to just kill you, like take you off the road at random times. So, it gave him a level of anxiety while driving it that was like, hey, I'm a driving school instructor, except the driving, the kid that's learning how to drive is on PCP right now. So like he might be driving okay for a few miles or whatever, but all of a sudden it'll just veer right into traffic or whatever. So you have to be super high, like crazy alert, and it's obviously not more relaxing than just regular driving. It's more stressful, more anxiety inducing, and that's versus like Autopilot, which if you're on a nice road that's flat and not curvy and traffic's not crazy, Autopilot is like better than cruise control.
I love Autopilot. Also, for the people who think I'm only say negative things about Tesla, I was in a PBS documentary about the actual Autopilot on the highway, touting how good it is. I was like, I mean, looking back on it, I said some comments that were like way too positive. And I got hate for that too, from all the people who were like, you can't possibly. I said, I swear by it. And I love using it. And they're like, it's so dangerous. So, I mean, you're going to get hate no matter what. But yeah, it is really, really good on the highway. All of us have experienced it. I've gone coast to coast road trip in my Tesla, in a previous Tesla, using Autopilot for probably over 95% of the drive. And it was awesome. It is like, it makes driving better. But yeah, the FSD city streets is a whole nother animal.
Yeah. And we're out in the suburbs. So it's not even good in the suburbs. It's good. Or Fred, you've tried it out in the, like the exurbs or the middle of nowhere, I guess. But
more less city landscape. Let's just say like the complexity of it is like it's a city street, but to be honest, it does more than that. Like the Autopilot just doesn't handle intersections at all, and obviously this is one of the most difficult part of driving. So doing a more simple intersection is something that it can handle to a degree. Not 100% success rate for sure, but when you go to a situation like this, like we're seeing right now, this is one of Taylor's video here in Boston, where there's several lane. You're doing an unprotected left turn right now. For some reason, looks like it thought that you could get on the oncoming lanes for a second and you have to correct it. This is something that happens a lot with it. The argument, and I would like to have your opinion on this, is Tesla's approach to full self-driving, or just self-driving. Really, full self-driving is kind of a dumb term, but is different than other automakers that are like mapping areas. It's very like an AI, like machine learning based deep learning approach that, because of someone like you, like that, like correcting the car, and then like the 50 other thousand people that are in the program, it's going to improve a lot faster. And so specifically on that, and with that in mind, so you say like that you don't like the way that the people look at the program, the people that are in the program, and they share their thoughts on them, act as if like it's very close to safer than humans, or very close to actually being a full self-driving system. A lot of those people are in California, where the system has been kind of optimized for those roads. And when you bring it to another place like Boston, where you're probably one of a few people trying the system there, it's not quite ready for that there. Do you have any comments on those, on that thought process?
A lot of people, I almost wish that I didn't say Boston, because this isn't Boston driving. I had to go outside of like the main part of Boston, because it's just not fun when it's just stop and go, and then like it keeps messing up. I mean, we're trying to give it a chance here. This is like quite residential, actually, as far as Boston goes. And yeah, Boston has crazy roads and everything, but this is, I've experienced this on suburbs in multiple states. And I get how some of these videos in California how they, after trying many times, they can get maybe a zero intervention drive. And it's very, again, disingenuous towards an actual experience with it. Even in California, anyone who has it knows that it's not as good as the videos on YouTube show it to be. And when I posted this, a lot of people reached out privately, and actually a lot publicly, saying, hey, I have to admit, I'm a beta tester too, and this actually is very similar to my experience. Some people say, quite a few people say, it's a lot worse than their experience. And also when we were just in my office the other day, when we were deciding which, like, hey, should we show some clips of like how crazy it is? And my colleagues, they're all in the car here, they're filming. They were like, this isn't even the craziest one. I mean, and people are freaking out about this. And we don't even like looking back, we're like, was it that crazy? And I mean, because it's just done way crazier things. This was just in a 22-minute drive. If it's making this amount of mistakes, it's not, I mean, this is not a Boston thing. It doesn't see right here, like a pedestrian maybe. And I have to take over, and then it just veers into the other lane. That's not a Boston thing. That's clearly a Tesla thing. Like right here. Yeah, that is crazy what it's doing. And it has nothing to do with where I'm driving. So this stuff has to happen in California, unless I have some bugged version of it that they keep updating and it's still buggy. I mean, which is obviously not the case.
Okay. So go ahead, Sid.
So like, I guess, the big takeaway here is that, as Tesla investors, as Tesla fans, as Tesla drivers, like, we're not crazy that, when we drive FSD and it's not very good, because, you kind of like, you're almost being gaslighted by the YouTube, videos you see, where everybody is like, oh, this is great, it's fine. And I drove from California, from San Francisco to LA, no interventions, like, and then you can't even get like to the gas station without it's just like it feels like a weird like world where you look on YouTube and Twitter and you see a bunch of people doing well on FSD, where in reality everybody I know who's used it tells me like it's really not that good at all. And in my short experience with it almost entirely fails.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why after having it for 3.5 months, I've been quiet. No one knew I had it. And then I figured maybe 60,000 people have it. Geez, someone has to maybe come out and say, you're being lied to, essentially.
Right.
Right. And so I was like, I'll just put some clips from a short drive together. I have a lot more, and even the craziest stuff I don't don't film because honestly, no one wants to ride. None of my friends want to ride with me beyond the first few drives. None of my colleagues want to do it. I mean, sometimes some of them are a little sick, but it's dangerous, especially as a passenger. And I don't actually know what it's like as a passenger. But
it's scary.
I feel like it's way scarier as a passenger because you don't know if the actual human driver is going to take over or what. But yeah, I couldn't take it any longer with people. And I'm glad that so many people have reached out saying the same. And now they feel like they have a voice. I should make it dramatic, but like, I cannot believe that there weren't more honest takes on it.
Yeah, I mean that's been I remember when we first reported from you about you was a few months ago, yeah, when it was specifically an issue where back then there was a lot fewer FSD beta testers, so we were solely relying on them and their reporting, their videos that they were posting, and it was an issue with a very prominent Tesla investors and promoter on Twitter and YouTube. I guess we can say his name is Galileo Russell, posting a video that back then you didn't have FSD just yet. I think back then.
I think when I posted that, I had it, and I was basically like, if I see what a glimmer of what I'm actually experiencing in a video, I have to share it because I didn't want people, to think I had it at that time.
So you saw one of his videos where there was some serious issue with the driving there. There was literally a driving violation in the video. Simply posted it, and then he asked you to take down the video, I think, which was just a clip of his YouTube video that you posted on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he also mentioned something about Tesla, and that's where it wasn't an NDA, but in the signing of accepting the beta back then, Tesla had to mention to be careful about what you share because people want Tesla to fail and everything. Now that's true. Some people want Tesla to fail, but I think it's clear that everyone in this podcast right now doesn't want Tesla to fail. If FSD does come to reality, I'm sure you'd be the first one to congratulate them on achieving that. But right now, I think one of the biggest issue that you're highlighting here is that there's not a great understanding of the current capacity of the full self-driving program. It is improving with videos like you posting, and I think it's going to improve a lot more. That there's now, in the last few months alone, there have been a lot of people, more people in the program, which is helping a lot. But it is exposing a weakness in the way Tesla is exposing the program, really. Because we've been relying solely on anecdotal reports from owners, so we have to go with reports like yours versus reports like Galileo Russell was also in the FSD program, and of course that is a terrible way to do it because Russell is on the West Coast, I think Seattle, somewhere like that, and you're in Boston, so we have like different roads. But like you said, there's specific issues that applies to both. So. What's something I've been pushing for, and I did it in the post where Elon claims that it's going to be safer to human by the end of the year. We need actual data on this. Like it would solve a lot of that problem of just like, who do you believe? Do you believe Taylor? Do you believe Galileo? Do you believe Omar? Or do you believe like anybody else? Which
or your eyes?
Or your own eyes when you watch actual videos that he put. So.
Well, that's the thing about when I post this, like people are accusing me of faking it and everything. Which is the craziest argument. Literally what I did was I engaged it, and it's supposed to navigate in these scenarios, and it just clearly didn't. So obviously I'm not lying about it. And even if I just mashed together hundreds of clips of it messing up, those are hundreds of times that a human needed to take over before an imminent crash, right? And so if they're still touting this level 4, but now it's level 4. It used to be level 5 in 2022, and then 2021, and then but it just takes one in a year. It takes one, and look at 2016, Waymo was at a disengagement rate of 1 disengagement per like tens of thousands of miles. And then 2017, they improved that, and they improved it. And then they got to the point where they took the driver out of the vehicle, and then they got the approval. So the other companies are doing it right. And I think that a lot of Tesla people don't, which is ironic because they of all people should follow the industry, follow the trends. And a lot of people don't realize that there are actual robotaxis out there. And it's shocking that they don't
to
know
play
that.
the devil's advocate here, though, like Waymo does it in the geofence area that has been extremely mapped out in order for their vehicle to perform to level 4 in that specific area. So what do you say of, like, I can surmise pretty easily that you don't believe Elon Musk's timeline that it's going to get safer than human, even though that's also like that the goal in itself is kind of a vague one. Safer than humans, like what does that imply exactly based on what data, what metric and everything? But do you how do you see this idea now that, okay, so FSD beta, can you admit that FSD beta has been improving, though, from what we've been seeing from October 2020 to now?
Not nearly as much as people say, but
that would be fair. That would be fair, I think. But then the idea is that now that there's been a giant influx of 50,000+ people into the program over the last quarter, and these people feeding the data and helping the machine learning system improving, that should technically help Tesla accelerate the rate of improvement. What do you see about that, and how that compares to a company like Waymo that doesn't have that same data coming in?
Well, Waymo has
simulations
almost 8 years of data. Also, their simulation is much better than, I mean, almost anyone. They made their own, which is very expensive to do. But Tesla's still relying on its drivers to flag the videos for them, which is clever. And they've kind of gamified it. But also they're relying on humans to label and to classify those clips, and then they send a patch in the next version to hopefully improve what's happening. It definitely helps, but everyone thinking that because Tesla has over 1 million vehicles on the road and they can capture all these edge cases, that's not how it works. I mean, they have to actually ask the fleet to send them an edge case in the future, and then they have to pull that and know to pull that. I mean, it really is not as much of a data play as people think. There certainly is a data play, and 60,000 vehicles is driving even 10 miles a day is certainly a lot. But they're still having to figure out what they want to determine as edge cases. And so fortunately, I think it is very good that they have these people who can press the camera button and then it sends it to them. What they do with that is kind of, we'll see. But yeah, no, there certainly is a data play here. And that,
well, I do like the idea of the timing of the major increase in the beta tester pool seems to come around the time that Tesla, I don't have any inside information on that, but we've been hearing that Tesla has been guiding people to think that they are starting to move from just human labelers to an auto labeling system. So the combination of those two could mean, I guess I'm playing devil's advocate here. I think I'm more optimistic than you on the FSD, but not. I'm somewhere in between you and Elon, maybe. Which hopefully, I think it's most Tesla fan like that. I don't think that most Tesla fan believe Elon's timeline at this point. If they do,
which is kind of crazy. First of all, that you don't believe the CEO of the company on his timing of this. That's probably a red flag. And I say red flag for the FSD thing. Maybe he actually will deliver Cybertrucks next year. But it's pretty crazy that I wonder what Elon actually is driving, because he's either purposely being disingenuous to people when he said like back on version 9.4, I'm driving the next version, it will blow your mind. And it is, what version was he driving? You would imagine that it's the alpha, right, of the next version. I don't know. So is that really honest? I used to really look up to Musk, but based on his comments and also how political he's getting recently, I no longer do. It's
hard to these days.
It really is.
I think there's a lot of people in your situation like that are dissociating.
But very recently, I think.
Yeah, they're dissociating themselves from like a Tesla fan and an Elon fan, or vice versa for some, because there's a lot of Elon fan that are not Tesla fan for some reason too, because of how he's aligning himself politically these days. it's a strange situation. But anyway, I think your comments, Taylor, were really useful. Give another perspective on FSD, and maybe next week we bring on someone that's like more optimistic on FSD, just to compare, see what they think, just to be a little bit to get both sides of the coins. But I think at the very least, you gave a good showing of your own experience with it, and I don't think anyone can come out of this episode thinking that you are a Tesla hater, even though that's what I use in the headline to be a little bit clickbaity. I think it's
I appreciate
clear that you're a Tesla fan, and we appreciate your comments about FSD. You can go follow Taylor on his Twitter at Taylor Ogan. Yeah, that's it. At
Ogan.
Taylor Ogan. Yeah, Ogan. Sorry. All right, thank you, Taylor.
Well, thanks,
Taylor.
Thanks, Seth.
Have a good one. All right.
Cut him off a little early. Sorry, Taylor.
Yeah. That's our bad. All right, that was useful. I think useful perspective to have on FSD. Speaking of FSD, one quick comment before we move on from the subject, because that was a big story this week. The safety recall that NHTSA posted about the rolling stop feature within the FSD. That was a big one this week. It's pretty simple. Since the beginning of the program, Tesla had this rolling stop feature that allowed the car to slow down instead of coming to a complete stop at an all-way stop, which is four-way stop. Is there a difference between the two? Because I always refer to those as four-way stop, but they call it an all-way stop.
Yeah,
in the US, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. It's they call it the California stop too, or I mean in Canada or in Quebec at least we call it an American stop, where you don't stop fully, you just go slow down a lot, and if there's no one on each side, you just keep going. Tesla, trying to replicate some kind of human driving behavior, had this feature that you can enable and that allowed you to do that. But there was a bunch of requirements, like you needed to. The vehicle must be traveling below 5.6 mile per hour, so you cannot just be like running through the stop. You already at slow down. No relevant moving cars are detected near the intersection. I like that mention of relevant. some are, there can be some vehicle movings around it that are not relevant. Same thing for pedestrians or cyclists. There's sufficient visibility for the vehicle while approaching the intersection, and all roads entering the intersection have a speed limit of 30 miles per hour or less. So if all those criteria are met, the vehicle would not come to a complete stop, which is technically a driving violation. Like if there's a cop there that catch you do that, it's a violation. So that has been in the system since the release in October 2020. But apparently NHTSA just caught wind of it last month. They met with Tesla about it. They talked about it twice.
Yeah.
And a week later, they said that they were gonna Tesla voluntary recalled it. So there's been a lot of confusion about that. Like people are like, this is a voluntary recall. It shouldn't be a safety recall, whatever. Look, Tesla had that as a feature. NHTSA didn't like it. They told Tesla. Tesla was like, okay, we will roll it back. And then because NHTSA considers it a safety risk, they have to issue an official safety recall notice. So Tesla, even though it's voluntary, Tesla's kind of been like forced to do it, really. So that was the whole story. Like it was a recall. They recalling all Tesla vehicles, which interestingly basically gave us the actual numbers of cars in the FSD Beta, which is in the US, which is, I think we think the only market where FSD Beta is available, 53,822. So last month during the release of the earnings, Tesla disclosed almost 60,000. So apparently 53,800 is almost 60,000, something like that. So Tesla said that in the few next releases, they're gonna remove that feature. Though the next releases already came this week with 10.10. And apparently, people are saying that you can still do a rolling stop with the FSD Beta after that. So it's gonna be something to. We didn't look into it too much. It's gonna be something to keep an eye on in the coming days. But
so this is one of those rare lately instances where I'm actually on Tesla's side on this. Like everybody does 2 mile per hour rolling stops everywhere. Mm-hmm. Like Tesla also allows you to drive 85 mile per hour on cruise control, in a 65 mile per hour zone.
That's a good point.
I mean, like if we're going down to the law, it's gonna get
Mhm.
like driving on autopilot's gonna suck. Like
Mhm.
you're gonna have to do really big stops, and every stop you're gonna have to drive the speed limit, which means people are just gonna
Mhm.
be flying around you. So I don't know. I don't know what you do in this case because obviously a rolling stop, you could get pulled over, get a ticket. You kind of have to be like, I don't know. There has to be almost like a hack or like a way to kind of turn off the uh, the stopping because you know I-
Well, that's the one part of the argument on your side and on Tesla's side is also it was a feature that you enable or not. Like you can disable it if you don't want it.
right.
So people can decide
So
whether. So it's still the people deciding whether they break the driving laws
right,
or not. But on the counter argument, I think is it when we just had this whole conversation with Taylor, like it's still in beta, it's still not great. So do you want to have a feature that literally programs breaking driving laws into a beta program that is far from perfect, to say the least?
right,
So I see arguments on both sides. I think that is obviously heading towards the safer approach, which I think is fair. And Tesla, I mean, I don't know how much Tesla fought for it, but then the thing that happened after that, and I know a lot of people will say that I'm a broken record on that, but the reporting around it was kind of all over the place a little bit. And Tesla fans were not happy about it, and even Elon wasn't happy about it, and it led to an EP reporter having to not shut down their Twitter account, but having to protect. They have this feature of protected tweets where not everyone can interact with them, so that if you are like get into trouble, you can activate that or whatever. And the EP reporter I think had to do it because that next time I went to their account, it was activated and it wasn't before. So, but yeah. So what happened is the reporting was like around the world. Recall is a problem too. There was another one too yesterday, the recall about the seat belts, which was about the chime warning you that the seat belt is on or not. uh, Tesla had to recall all their vehicles basically in the US because of it, but the recall is only a software update. So people have this problem with Tesla when the recall is only a software update, even though that's actually the word that is being used. So a lot of people were thinking that the reporting around it was misleading because it made it sound like Tesla there was a defect when it actually it was being recalled for a defect when it's actually a feature that's being rolled back. And the specific problem here was with reporter Tom Kreischer from the Associated Press, which I read the guy's article. The article was extremely fair, and it was all based on the NHTSA recall notice, which is the only thing it can be based on because it's the only information that we have as reporters, because we don't have Tesla's side on it. But the headline of it was clickbaity, to say the least. Like it was the actual headline here was Tesla recall, full self-driving software runs stop signs, which it's clickbaity, but technically it's accurate because it's technically running a stop sign. If there's a police there, they write a ticket to the FSD Beta, they would write that they run a stop sign. That's how it works. So the full self-driving software did allow that. I admit it's clickbaity. I don't know if it's Tom Kreischer. How do you pronounce his name? Kreischer? Yeah, I think so. Um, I don't know if he wrote it because in a lot of those big publications like Associated Press, like the reporters does the reporting, write the article, and then a bunch of the editors go through it and they try to find like the most SEO friendly clickbaity headline possible. So that might be what happened. And other people are like, yeah, but like Fred, if you write an article and you're not okay with the headlines on it, like it's on you. Like you should like yes on Electrek, where it's basically me and Seth that decides like what goes on. I agree. Like it's either on me or Seth, whoever like writes the headline. But in this case, it can be different. I don't think Tom Kreischer is a like a part owner of Associated Press, or anything like that. But what happened is that so a lot of Tesla fans, including Omar Quasi, it goes by Walmart's catalog, went hard on Tom, called him a moron and all that, and then Elon jumped on it and even called him a lobbyist. He said he's not a journalist and actually a lobbyist for writing this article.
Is that considered viable?
I don't know, because I mean, I looked it up real quick. It's like, is he actually, does he have information on this, or is this another like pedo stuff like that? He says it, and then after the fact hires a detective to try to prove that whatever he claimed. And I think it's more like the latter, because I didn't find anything about him a lobbyist. I think he's more saying that based on like, this is the way he acts like a lobbyist instead of acting like a reporter. And then a lot of people brought like his former articles on Tesla, which a lot of them are negative. But then I looked him up, and yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of his reporting personally, but he tends towards negative about Tesla on his reporting, not because of his personal views of Tesla, which I don't know what they are, but his beat is covering NHTSA issues. So of course, if you cover NHTSA issues, when you're going to talk about Tesla, you're going to talk about NHTSA investigation at Tesla, so it's going to sound more negative, of course. So it's not that much his fault. But you remember, I remember that guy. You're going to remember that said when we broke the news that Tesla's going to build a factory in Austin. You remember what Tesla did back then?
Yeah, they told it.
Yeah, we broke the news that Tesla going to build a factory in Austin, and then Tesla's PR department, which like was the last few days of the Tesla department there, probably mostly Elon really, to counter a report, they leaked to 3 journalists, they leaked the information that, Tulsa is also still in the running, which wasn't the case anymore. We had confirmation that Elon said it's going to be in Austin. They were already hiring contractor for Austin. Everything was moving to Austin. They already have the land and everything. So they leaked that information to those guys, and those people knew very well that Tesla was like giving them the information to counter the report that it was just in Austin, but they still ran with it, saying that a source told us that Tulsa and Austin are the 2 companies in the running. So I wasn't a fan of that, because like if I was in that situation, I wouldn't have reported like that. I wouldn't have used Tesla as a background when it's clear that what their goal was with leaking that information. So yeah, I'm not like the biggest fan of that guy, but regardless of what you think of that guy, what happened here with Elon on like saying that on the top of a comment that calls him a moron from a guy that Elon always promotes on Twitter, that's giving the green light to all the fans to attack him. And sure enough, it led to him protecting his tweets because of it. So this is definitely not one of my favorite aspects of Elon's character when he does things like that, where it's not productive. Like
it's weird. I wonder if because he did leak to him earlier. This maybe he's like, well, why are you being so negative on Tesla? We leaked some information to you.
Yeah, they worked with him before for sure. That's a true,
right.
Yeah.
So also the funny thing, NHTSA, there's no like NHTSA like best EVs award. There's like it's only bad stuff. Like there's only if there's NHTSA news, it's not good. Like you want to be clear of NHTSA at all times.
But not only that too, like it was also like putting it on him to call it like a safety recall, but that's not him. That's also NHTSA that called it a safety recall. Like they said it was a safety risk, and so here's the thing that goes back to me being a broken record about Tesla dissolving the PR department. I remember several times when Tesla's PR department, when it existed, reaching out to me prior to a recall notice going out, because there's a time between the two where like the NHTSA and Tesla knows there's going to be a recall, and before it goes public, they can talk to journalists about it and everything. I had calls from Tesla PR that like, look, Fred, there's going to be a recall notice coming out tomorrow. This is about that. Let me give you some background that explains why. And a lot of those calls were about like recalls that could be fixed with a software update, where Tesla would tell us, okay, like this. So in this case here, Tesla could have explained like, look, this is not a defect with the cars. This is nothing like that. This is a feature that was in the call that NHTSA doesn't like. So we accepted to roll it back. Like if Tesla would have reached out to journalists beforehand, and they did that with Tom Kreischer before, like I've seen a few of his articles back then where Tesla had those comments. And yes, those articles are more representative of Tesla's side of the situation, because it is being communicated to them ahead of time, instead of just like, all right, I have to just base my whole reporting on NHTSA's report, which is kind of cut and dry. versus like Tesla's side of things. This wouldn't happen if Elon wasn't the sole Tesla spokesperson anymore.
Yeah, I think Elon was super pissed
Mm.
that somebody that they had a relationship with in the past had done something to hurt Tesla.
Which we've
that
been in
this
this
air
situation
quotes going
before.
up, right? So we know what that feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's not cool. Like Tesla is such a huge company now too, and there is value in Elon being like promoting the company and being huge on Twitter and all that. There's a ton of positive value, but this is not one of them. Like this is one of the situation where a good Tesla PR department would shows a lot of usefulness and would help Tesla's reputation and honestly help Elon's reputation, because I don't think he helped his own reputation there by calling this guy a lobbyist with no proof whatsoever other than not liking his particular reporting on this. So, all right, enough Elon bashing for the day. Okay, we're done. Not that that's actually a thing that we're doing that now. Tesla, the Supercharger map update. This is a cool one here. Let's just. I thought it was gonna pop up. My bad. Come on. So Tesla every year at the beginning of the year, Tesla does this these map updates that are pretty useful. Pretty useful. You have to take them with a grain of salt. But sorry, I'm not able to pop it up for some reason.
Sometimes it pops up in another window.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to avoid right now. But it's not working very well.
You can right click on the link and paste it into the URL.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh.
But let me a second here.
While you're doing that, let me just reach out to all the Supercharger people at Tesla and say, Bennington, Vermont, put one there. It's like a black hole of Tesla Superchargers. It would be perfect for all the New Yorkers going skiing every weekend. Bennington, Vermont.
Did you check the updates, see if there's anything
I did.
there? Yeah,
No,
there's nothing. Yeah, let me check.
There's actually an Electrify America at the Walmart there, so it's not the worst.
So yeah, every year Tesla updates their map. You have to go to the Find Us map and then click on Supercharger, and you have the gray ones that are the upcoming ones. And every year Tesla updates those to give us ideas of new location. There's not perfect location, but it tells us, okay, we're trying to get a Supercharger there. Now there's a bunch of things that goes into that. You need to then find a property owner. You need to find a property that makes sense for it. You need to have an agreement with the property owner. You need to find a contractor to actually do the prep work to get the Supercharger there. Then you need to ship the Supercharger there. You need to get it approved with the municipality. You need to get it approved with the local utility. Then you need to install everything and turn it online. This is a lot of things that need to go right to make it happen. So a lot of the timelines, they slip behind. So the other useful thing with the map update is you can go on them and click on the actual new Supercharger, and you get the new update. Because like this one, for example, I think was showing a Q4 2021 until the update this week. Now it's Q3 2022, so it's still going to be a while before we can go to Abitibi through Val-d'Or to through the Supercharger network. But here in Quebec, we saw a few new ones, but mostly updated timelines for existing plan ones. There's a lot of them in Northeast plan, which is already a widely covered area.
Not Bennington, though.
Not Bennington. We got it set. You need one in Bennington. Texas, I mean, Austin is seeing a lot of love from the network. There's a lot of new plant station. I wonder
no big surprise
why.
there.
Tesla fan in Mexico are asking for a lot more there, and Elon did comment on Twitter that he's going to try to do it. There's not a lot in Mexico on the west coast of the country. I'm in
could
Baja.
you even make it down? Like if you were down at the bottom, could you make it to the? I guess you could go up to
Texas. Like if you by the bottom, I mean not actually to Central America, but if you are in Oaxaca, you can go up through Mexico City and to Texas. I'm in Baja. I'm in Cabo right now, and I mean I know that's not really populous. Baja California is not really populous, but you cannot get from California to Cabo. There's no Superchargers at all there. In Europe also got a ton more, and for good reason, because Tesla is starting to open up the Supercharger network in Europe to non-Tesla EVs. They started with the Netherlands, and now they are expanding to Norway and France. So there's now about 40 stations or so that are open to non-Tesla EV owners. It's not the whole network in those countries. It's still a few stations in those countries. Tesla is still testing the program to see. I cannot actually show them right now because you can see them if you're actually. I could probably show them by just you do this like that, and then you go. I think Belgium owners can use them. Yeah, so then you can click right here. Oh, well, you unclick everything basically, and you keep only Supercharger open to non-Tesla vehicles, and then you can see them here. So yeah, about 40 station in France, so all over France, one in Paris even, few in Netherlands. Those were already open, and a few in Norway, which is one of Tesla's biggest market per capita, if not the biggest market per capita. So it's going to be interesting here because there's also a lot of other non-Tesla vehicles, electric vehicles in Norway that could want to try the network, and Tesla's going to be able to see how that affects the load there. And they're starting in Europe for obvious reason that the supercharger network is already using the CCS adapter, which is used by all other EVs except the whole Leaf. So it's going to give them it's going to be easier for them to adopt. If they do that in the US or in Canada, they're going to have to use an adapter. Though apparently Tesla is already thinking about that. They said they even have a way to have the adapter at the station, so you don't need to buy your own one. So it's going to be interesting to see when Tesla does implement that, which could be relatively soon, since we did note that Tesla, if they want to have access to the $7.5 billion that the U.S. federal government is unlocking for a new charging station, it needs to be charging stations that are open to more than one automaker, vehicles from more than one automaker. That's the exact phrasing. So Tesla's going to have to do that soon if they want to apply for those big grants and help them accelerate the deployment of supercharging station. All right, that was our big exclusive story yesterday. We got our hands on a building permit application from Tesla for a new project on the Gigafactory Texas piece of land. So this is what we're looking right now. This is the main building. This is the original project that Tesla applied for in his building, and this is going to be where there's the Model Y production line, expected also Model 3 production line to come, Cybertruck. A lot of things going to be made there. Some battery production made there too. But there's other, like, Tesla has over 2,000 acres of land all around this project here. Like you can see, this is where the factory is. The main building, I should say, that is already built right now, and all the green spot, all pieces of land that Tesla owns. So there's a lot of spot for expansion. Last year, we already learned of a new project called Project Bobcat, which we don't know exactly what that's going to be, but that's a separate new building on about 97 acres. And so quite a large building too. We don't know what it is for, but now Tesla applied for a new one called Project Cathode on 32 acres. So another significant building here, quite big. And there's no, in the actual notes, there's no information other than the applicant is proposing an industrial use facility, aka a factory, along with associated improvements. So all the necessary utilities that you need for that building. But the name itself is pretty obvious that this is going to be a cathode factory. Tesla already announced plans for a cathode factory at the Battery Day in 2020. So Drew Baglino, Senior Vice President of Engineering at Tesla, said, we're going to go and start building our own cathode facility in North America, leveraging all of the North American resources that exist for nickel and lithium. And just doing that, just localizing our cathode supply chains and production, we can reduce miles traveled by all materials that end up in the cathode by 80%. So lithium, and the cathode is the most expensive part of your battery normally. It's the one that has the most nickel in it, which is expensive, and this is the metals that is most in batteries by weight. And then you have lithium that is a lot less, but lithium is more expensive per weight, so it's also an expensive part of the battery. And yes, nickel and lithium production in North America is extremely rare. So Tesla wants to build the whole cathode. So they said North America at that point, but now we know it's going to be at the Gigafactory Texas site. And Tesla has a new way to produce it that's more simple, require less capital and less waste. Now they need the material to do it, though, which is not quite there because Tesla gets most of its nickel from Val, which get nickel from like Australia and Brazil and other South American country, and lithium from Australia and a few other places too. So North America is not known for it. It has a lot of nickel and lithium. It's just not in production much. So Tesla has been making moves lately to help that happen. So there was the deal not last year, right after they announced the battery day in 2020. Tesla announced a deal with Piedmont Lithium in North Carolina to advance their project to produce lithium locally. And then more recently, just the last month or month before that, they announced a deal with Talon Metals for nickel with a new mining operation in Minnesota. Now, these are what we call junior mining companies. So they don't have production yet. They have projects and that are in the various stage of operation, but they're not producing anything just yet. So these deals help those companies secure financing to advance those projects. And I would expect Tesla to make a lot more of these deals because there's going to need a lot of lithium in North America because we don't know how big that cathode facility is going to be, but it's going to be quite big if it's going to be supplying over 100 gigawatt hour of production capacity per year. All right, this was a cool one, dear. For those who don't know, make sure that you have the latest Tesla mobile app on your phone right now. And it was a weird one. Both Seth and I experienced the same things where if you have automatic update, it didn't actually automatically update it for this one. So you have to go to the App Store and push the update. But if you do that, I think it's on every car except the ones with the MCU 1. So MCU 2 and up, you're going to have this feature. It's called Charge Stats. You go down into to your features on your specific car. You click on Charge Stats, and then this little pages appear here that gives you more information on your charging habits, whether it's at your home, at Superchargers, or at other locations. Here it says other 97%, but this is actually like a home charging. It's because this is my car, and I lent it to my friend while in Mexico. So it's all home charging. But what's very useful is that you can then go to those locations, whether it's other location or home, and you can enter the utility provider and the specific rates that you have, and Tesla's going to give you an exact amount of how much you're spending on your charging and gives you an equivalent in gas savings. So this thing that Tesla does on their website that you always have to click like actual purchase price instead of price after savings, where Tesla gives you like a rough estimate of your potential gas savings. This is actual like very good representation of your gas saving there. So you see here in the last month, I save, or actually my friend saved about $230 of gas by using the car instead of a gas car. Seth, you had yours here that I posted that gives a clear example of a different use case: 50% charging at home, 18% at superchargers, and 30% at other, which is mostly your place in Vermont. Which right. I don't know. Did you didn't end up? Maybe did you do the special rates for them, or that was before that?
Yeah, so Vermont has a different rate scheme than New York. New York it's really almost untenable because you have to charge basically your power walls and your cars between midnight and 8 a.m. and that means there's like 18 hours where you have to go off of your other stuff. So it's really hard. So they have a system called Smart Charge, where you either put a thing in your car or you allow them access to your Tesla account, and then they give you credits for charging in the middle of the night. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is in Vermont, you can charge anytime except from 2 to 8 p.m. and it's a lower rate. So you can see we're going to Vermont. We stop at a supercharger briefly, and then we charge in Vermont, and then on the way back we go to a supercharger. It's just kind of the pattern. and this is our Model Y, so it's not, we're not leaving a lot these days. I guess around 40 kilowatt hours per day is the average, but obviously on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're not driving too much. So
Yeah, you can see that you spend a little bit more, almost twice as much energy as my Model 3 did last month. But with the supercharger rates, your different rates at home and others, you end up saving about $186 over that month, which is still pretty good.
yeah, supercharging is free for us because we had the referrals. It's it's almost free when we charge in New York because of the smart charge, and it's like 12 cents per hour in Vermont.
Yeah. All right, we have one more thing to discuss. The Sets Kia EV first drive that I did last week in California. But before we go to that, make sure that if you have any question for us, because we're gonna have a little bit of time to discuss any questions at the end of the show, whether it's about the EV6 or anything else that we discussed during the show or another topic that you want us to address this week. Put it in the comment section right now. If you can put in all caps or a question in all caps, that would be helpful for us to find them easier, because there was a lot of comments this week. But yeah, set the EV6, one of the most exciting cars this year, I think, coming. What did you think?
It's a great car. I'm not Kia doesn't have a great reputation for making exciting sports cars. They're usually on the lower end of the spectrum. Although I did drive a Kia Soul way back when they had the first electric edition, and I thought they did a pretty good job with that. But I don't know. Whenever I get a Kia at an airport rental car, I was always kind of bummed, and they weren't terribly good. So this was like a really like eye-opening experience. They've done a lot of job on the quality. The doors close very, well. Everything works really well. There's no knocks or pings. It's quiet.
Doesn't feel like a cheap car.
Doesn't feel like a cheap car at all. Even the door handles, I thought like were done pretty well. They have the, they're flat when you're driving, but when you walk up to it, they present themselves, and there's even a keyhole that, if the power goes out or whatever, you can open the door with a key, like cavemen. It was nice. Also, our old friend Brad Berman was there, and we drove together, so we got to catch up with him and bounce our thoughts off of each other. The software on the dashboard was my first like, oh, this is amazing. That it's just designed without a good UX person involved. Obviously, CarPlay and Android Auto are a nice addition. It does wireless and wired versions of that. So I don't know. I did the wired Android CarPlay, and the mapping was really good. Unfortunately, I had to use the maps that Kia provided, and all the waypoints with their own system, and that wasn't as great. Some things that I really enjoyed about this car was if you turn your left turn signal on, you can see in this image that we're looking at, you get a picture of the left side of your car, and the same with the right side. That's something like I didn't know I needed, but it's just great. And another thing that I think you agree with this, it's really nice to have a heads up display, even if it's just a speedometer, whatever. A heads up display is just really nice to have. Especially when you get into a new car that you've never driven before. It's just like, oh, wow, that's nice.
If it's a good one. If there's been some, but more recently, I've only been in good ones, though. Like the most recent iterations of them they're getting pretty good.
Yeah, this one was particularly clear. And it was very easy to read, but it wasn't like, overwhelming and just kind of faded into the background. So how did the car drive? The all-wheel drive version, which has I think close to 300 horsepower, drives really well. Like I would compare it. I don't think it's quite as fast as my Model Y, but it's pretty close. And I have just a regular model, all-wheel drive Model Y. They have two versions down from that though. The rear-wheel drive version has a little like 220 horsepower. That I would say is kind of equivalent maybe even slower than like my old Chevy Bolt. And then below that, they have like 167 horsepower, which I imagine is probably something similar to like, a 10-year-old Nissan Leaf. It's got to be like incredibly slow. So I don't know if I would even consider the base model, even though it has, well over 200 miles of range. I would at least jump up to the, I think 77 kilowatt hour battery.
Yeah, the bigger pack. Yeah.
I would at least go there, and if you love driving, do yourself a favor and get the all-wheel drive version. It's just better on turns, better acceleration, all that. You're looking at the Frunk right now. That to me just seemed like, man, they didn't really send it on that one. It looks like somebody threw a suitcase into like the engine compartment of a car. And it doesn't fit much. And why would you open two doors to get into, to put groceries in there or whatever? So nobody's going to use it for everyday items. It's going to be used for.
Did you use on your Tesla, which popularized the Frunk, if you will? Like, did you use it that much? Because I don't find myself using the Frunk that much.
We use it for groceries quite a bit, particularly because that area isn't heated up by the car, so it stays cool in the winter, especially. So like when we go to Vermont and we're bringing groceries with us, we put it all in the front so it stays cold.
But you have a view of the heads-up display here. No?
Yeah, that's a little video. It's something Kia put together. Yeah, the heads-up display wasn't like, I feel like the Mercedes one that we drove in Germany was like the best I've ever seen. But this one was solid. It wasn't like the best I've ever seen, but it just worked really well. And like right out of the gate, it was like, oh, I get it. Let's see what else in the back. There's plenty of storage in the back. The car kind of reminds me of the I-Pace in its size and shape, but I remember the I-Pace didn't have much room in the back, where this one I think is comparable to maybe a Model Y, or this one kind of lives right between the Model Y and a Model 3 in terms of size and it maybe a little bit bigger or wider. Inside, super comfortable. Similar to the Ioniq, strangely, even though the Ioniq's a different shape on the outside, it felt very similar. They have the two 12-inch screens right next to each other. It's easy to recommend to other people. People who are saying, I have $50,000, I want a good SUV type-ish EV. There's plenty of options out there, but I think this is a pretty good one. 310 miles of range, can't beat that. It's pretty good. I don't know. You have any questions about it?
No, I mean, I've been a fan, and I think you confirmed a lot of what I was thinking about the vehicle. I mean, it came maybe a tiny bit more expensive than we thought, especially because our expectation were kind of adjusted with the Ioniq 5, like because it's on the same platform and everything. When the Ioniq 5 pricing were announced, we're like, oh, this is really interesting. We knew it was going to be a little bit more expensive with the EV6, but like you said, like you compared it to the Model Y, but that's also because you have a Model Y. It's not just because you're trying to like compare it to Tesla. You have to compare it with the all-wheel drive for Tesla. That's the thing, is the only available in all-wheel drive. But I think it's gonna be a good car too for like people that just like, if you're not coming from a Tesla, if you're not coming from an all-wheel drive car, and you're fine with the rear-wheel drive package and a little bit not as much range, though you can get more range too with the is it a $47,000 version with the bigger battery, which is like giving you like a Model 3 kind of pricing for an even longer range. It's starting to get interesting.
Yeah. And so one differentiator, obviously the charging is interesting with the 800 volt. You can get 210 miles in 18 minutes, which that's amazing. Obviously, in real world, you'll probably never get that fast, but you'll get close. The biggest thing to me, and maybe you can call this an exclusive. We talked to the guy, his name's Steve, who kind of knows more than anybody else there. Like all the PR people were very not versed on the intricacies of this, but we were really curious about like, all right, the Ford F-150 can output, close to 10 kilowatts of electricity. It can power a house. Obviously, this car, if you step on the gas, it can put out more than 10 kilowatts of power. Why can't this power a house? And he said, well, it says 1.9 kilowatts for the U.S. market, but really it's the same hardware. So as Europe, and Europe has 3.6 kilowatts, obviously double that, because they use 220 volts, the same, 15 amps. So basically, if your house can survive on 3.6 kilowatts, which a lot of houses can, I mean, my house like idles under 2 kilowatts, um, you can power your house with this. And, uh, you know, if they decided that maybe they could bump it up to 5 kilowatts or 10 kilowatts, then it would be all the easier to do. I really think with what Ford did and the excitement around the F-150 powering your house in a blackout, I really think that Kia, Hyundai, the eGMP like brands really need to see what they can do and create a use case for this and like, here's the cable that you use to plug in your generator port, or here's how you do it. Here's a deal with Sunrun, whatever. But it's absolutely an opportunity they could take advantage of.
Yeah, I agree. All right, should we jump into the comments? Or
Yeah,
now
they're a little bit thin with
Oh.
questions, and mostly early on we're talking about
yeah, it's gonna be tough to find a question.
yeah, here we go. All right. Any idea? So this is the Jose. Any idea how prospective 4680 Model Y buyers living in California or outside Texas should strategize? Make sure we get 4680s. Thanks.
Well, first you need to know: do you want to get the 4680? I think this is a balance here because, of course, this is like kind of a new car too. I mean, I know Model Y is not a new car, but the new structural battery pack in the 4680s, this is like a big part of the technology that you're buying, and we know that being an early adopter has its downsides too. However, we do expect some things that Tesla doesn't announce with 4680, some potential improvement in charge rates, some improvement in longevity. So if everything goes well, you might actually do get a much better car. As for deciding that we or trying to strategize to get one, I don't know how you can do that. The only thing, I guess, if you do get your VIN, you're going to be able to confirm whether one of the letter in the VIN tell you if it's from Austin or if from Fremont. So you're going to be able to confirm it. If you just order a Model Y, you're going to know, okay, this is, once you get your VIN number. I guess you could refuse the car and hope to get another one that gets it. But other than that, I don't know how you can ask Tesla to do it. I don't know. I mean, asking Tesla for things is it's not the easiest thing.
Yeah, you can even ask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other thing is like, do you want to be the first person to get a 4680 car?
Yeah, you should ask your. That looks like the Jose already knows the answer to that. Like, it's going to be different for everyone. But yeah, for most people, you should ask yourself that first.
All right, Coach DA says EV6 Ioniq 5 reviews are looking pretty good. Do you know how many they plan to make? So we don't know how many they plan to make. There's a couple of factors involved. One, you never really ask an automaker how much they plan to make because they really don't know. One, and two, that number's like super secret for some reason. I actually remember somebody getting chewed out by like the Chevy people for asking that. So yeah, don't do that. Anyway, the other factor is Europe really loves the EV6 and Ioniq 5. They can't get enough of them, and because there's like a bigger incentive program in Europe than there is in the US, Hyundai and Kia are sending a lot more of the cars there than they are sending to the US, which sucks for us, but like maybe we get our incentive program together, we'd be in better shape. Call your congressman. All right. Patricio Benedon says, what do you know about our next energy working together with Tesla at some point? Do you know?
Yeah, I've looked them up once. I mean, the interesting stuff about breakthroughs in battery technology, but you know how those are. You have to be super careful until until we get like very concrete information. Like the one that like the most hyped about is QuantumScape, because they've been very forward about what kind of prototype they have and the limitation of their prototypes and what it's going to take to get it to volume commercial production. One, I haven't seen as much information on that front from there. So until we get that, it's going to be hard for me to have any useful opinions on that.
All right, KC5 GTS. Any movement on Tesla letting Tesla sell? Oh, sorry. Any movement on Texas letting Tesla sell cars direct?
Nothing new. I mean, but I'm not a good understanding of the legislation at the state level in Texas. I know they don't meet that often. They have like short sessions that they can actually propose new laws. I mean, it's a small government kind of state in the U.S. Like they are not anti-government, but like they don't want the government get involved too much and things like that. So it shows in their state legislatures. uh, I'm sure that they're going to be a little bit more open to it. But at the end of the day, like the people that take the decisions are also taking money from the dealership. So it's going to be a hard one to pass.
Yeah, I saw that Rivian was making progress in Georgia where they're having their second factory. So
Yeah.
maybe that'll shame Texas into it. Probably not. Seth, if you had to do it again, would you buy the EV6 or iNOC 5 versus the Tesla Model Y? Well, the Tesla Model Y is, first of all, it's my wife's car, so it would be up to her. But there's nothing back like that back then. If I was to do it again, it would be a really tough call. I do like some of the stuff Tesla offers. Obviously, the charging station, there's way more of them. They're more reliable, easier to use. I do like the video games, or the video, the stuff that you can do with the screen, even though it's not a game changer, or it's not a decision maker for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a tough call. Both cars are pretty awesome. Really can't go wrong there. My wife and I have this discussion all the time. Like, Teslas are going for over their new price used. So we're thinking, oh, we should sell now and get more, and then buy something else. But something else is always sold out as well. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough market right now for buyers.
Yeah.
A great one for sellers.
All right. Last question at the moment. Is it possible to upgrade the power on a BEV in the same way you can chip an ICE vehicle?
I mean, to a degree, yes. I mean, we've seen
Tesla's
people,
done
Tesla, like those upgrades. So it depends on everything is software limited to a degree. So if you can actually hack the car and unleash some of the power, either Tesla does it, or we've seen hackers do it on their own cars, or even offering as a service. Engine X, for example, in Quebec has been offering that. It's been a bit controversial, but they've done it. So yeah, it's technically it's possible. All right, I think that's it for this week's episode, guys. Everyone, I appreciate you watching. If you're watching right now, we have over 100 people on the stream watching right now. You can give us a like on the YouTube right now. It's free to do, and it helps the show more. You can think it takes a second, and we appreciate it greatly. So if you can go ahead and smash that like button right now, I appreciate it. And subscribe if you want to be notified when the next episode comes out. And with big thanks to Taylor for being on the show this week and sharing his opinion on the FSD. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be it